Well, the Prime Minister today, after a party room meeting of Coalition MPs, has ordered a review and investigation into the so-called Safe Schools Coalition program. This is an educational program, a voluntary program. About 500 schools have taken it up. That the government, through taxpayers, is funding to the tune of $8 million. It was put in place under the former Labor government. It still has about $2 million to be spent in the time between now and the end of next year. What's it all about? Well, it's aimed to tackle bullying of same-sex attracted and transgender students. A number of Coalition MPs have concerns, though, about some of the material in this program, in the booklets and other material, that's going to kids as young as 11. Leading the charge against it has been the Liberal Senator Cory Bernardi. I spoke to him a little earlier.
Of course, David. There are, any number of children that feel isolated at school and feel subject to bullying and feel out of place, if you will.
So you don't dispute the bullying problem there for these
No,
kids?
but bullying is an issue that every school and every school teacher needs to deal with. And the Prime Minister himself today said that, we shouldn't be narrowcasting the anti-bullying agenda. We should be dealing with it on a wholesale basis.
Kids get bullied for a lot of reasons.
Of course they do. And, part of growing up as a child in difficult circumstances is that kids can be cruel. And we learn resilience and we learn how to overcome adversity as a product of that. We don't want to see children damaged. And so anti-bullying is a very, very important message. But I question why $8 million of government money is going into a very narrow anti-bullying agenda, which includes things as hypersexualising 11-year-old children and even children as young as 4 unnecessarily. I don't think that's in accordance.
Is it hypersexualising young kids?
Of course it is.
How is it doing that?
When you've got an 11-year-old who's been instructed in their class to imagine themselves sexually attracted to a 16-year-old of the same sex or even a different sex, you're asking children to put themselves in scenarios which they aren't ready for. It's unnecessary, and ultimately I think there needs to be some parental discretion about how these things are applied.
Is it an age thing? Because most sex education starts, I think, in year 7 and 8, which is not a lot older than that.
Most sex education deals with how children are made and procreation and the differences in men and women from a sexual function point of view. What we're seeing with this program is not only the projection of older influences into 11-year-olds, we've also found links to books called Gender Fairy, which is dealing with 4-year-olds. Now, I don't know anybody who thinks it's appropriate to teach preschool children that their gender is something that they can just make up. And how do we come to a conclusion that asking the parent of a newborn whether their child is a boy or a girl is somehow perpetuating a heteronormative agenda? This is indoctrination. This is a political and social agenda that I think has no place in our schools.
Obviously you and others have concerns with some elements of the content here. I mean, again, could that be improved? Could it be better put forward, better tailored, and still tackle this problem of bullying? I mean, we do have programs to deal with other forms of bullying, whether it's racism in the playground or other aspects. This is only $8 million to deal with one aspect, where we're talking about same-sex issues being the subject of bullying.
What we don't have in other forms of bullying education or anti-bullying education is this radical indoctrination where we're asking people to project themselves into circumstances which they may not be ready for or indeed aren't ready for. It comes back to the point. Bullying is wrong. We want to make sure our children are well, healthy and living a vibrant lifestyle. But what we need to make sure is that it's age appropriate firstly and that the materials are not pushing a political agenda.
So if the materials were simply focused on saying it's okay to be gay, it's not a bad thing, but didn't go to what you're saying, you're suggesting a radical projection of putting yourself in the shoes of another gender, would that be okay?
Well, ultimately you need to make sure that difference and diversity in any circumstance is okay, and you want people to feel comfortable with that. But there are points where, we're taking the role of the state a little bit too far. And where children are experiencing, difficulties at schools, it's best detected by teachers, it's best detected by principals, it's best detected by parents, and they can make accommodations for that. If we're going to educate children about the anti-bullying message, and it's very important we do so, it should be about, hey, how would you feel if the boot was on the other foot? It's common sense. And I think our schools should be talking about reading, writing and arithmetic. The literacy and numeracy numbers are declining right across the school board, and it's because we're focusing too much on this narrowcast agenda rather than on the basics that are going to educate our children for life.
Can I just shift topic to the tax debate?
Liberal Senator Cory Bernardi.